Hi, my name is Sally Ann Sherry. I am General Counsel of Bartra Capital Property Group. I'm a qualified solicitor in Ireland and I'm also a member of the Institute of Directors in Ireland. I lead the Bartra Capital Property Group legal department, and we are a real estate company in Dublin, Ireland, with interests in areas such as social housing, nursing homes, residential and commercial real estate.
I'm Ray Palmer-Smith. I'm head of new homes for Knight Frank in Ireland. We're a global property company with offices in 60 countries throughout the world, particularly strong presence in Asia. And I am a licensed real estate agent in Ireland.
So Ireland is a common law country, which is similar to countries such as England, Australia, Hong Kong, etc. Property law in Ireland is based on Irish legislation and on common law principles. No, there are no restrictions on who can own real estate in Ireland. You can be resident or non-resident, for example. However, there is anti-money laundering legislation, and therefore there are checks that must be carried out prior to acquisition, and those checks would include verifying the identity of the person and the source of their funds.
So Ireland's been going through a population boom over the last few years, and with the growing trend in urbanisation, which has obviously been identified by the United Nations, Dublin in particular is predicted to have a growth of up to 25% by the year 2035. So that means that there is a huge demand in terms of residential property in general. Also, as a result of Ireland having been quite severely hit during the downturn, the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, there was quite a large lack of construction happening, particularly in the residential market. So that's meant that not only is there a shortage of supply that came into the market over that 10-year period, but in addition to that, we now are playing catch up to try and build those, as well as the much needed demand right now. So that's left a very, very strong property market in Ireland, where we've been seeing a pretty consistent growth in terms of values every single year. That growth, however, has been quite carefully managed, so it hasn't gone beyond what's viable in terms of the general local market. So there's still a lot of room for growth within that. Central bank restrictions on mortgage lending for individuals within Ireland has meant that the market hasn't been able to get carried away with itself, and it's been a relatively controlled but steady and good growth that we've seen over the last 10 years. We also, in particular, in Ireland, there's a whole host of reasons why we have a strong property market supported by a strong economy, and just some stats just out in the last few days show that for the 7th year in a row, Ireland is the fastest growing economy in Europe, with annual growth of 5.5% last year. That actually not only is it the strongest in Europe, but it also puts us almost 3 times ahead of the now 27 EU member states overall. The Dublin property market in particular is very, very strong, particularly because of the concentration of population who are already based around the capital city, and there's obviously a major hub in terms of employment within Dublin. So we have some of the world's largest companies have chosen to have their European headquarters based in and around the Dublin area. So it's meant that we have a lot of high earning execs who are working in the tech industry, who are working in medical technology industry, who are working in financial institutions, who call Dublin home. So, and that's increasing year on year. So as a company, Knight Frank, obviously we do deal very heavily in residential property. We also deal in the commercial sector as well, and we're one of Ireland's leading commercial real estate agents as well. So as a company, we are seeing firsthand the expansion with a lot of of these companies as well. So with clients like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, expanding their footprint within their office spaces year on year. So that's meaning that there's a steady supply, obviously, of purchasers coming through who are looking for high quality housing. One of the fastest growing industries in Dublin at the moment is definitely the tech industry. So Ireland's been a popular destination for tech companies for a very, very long time, and actually quite a lot of the top born on the internet companies actually are based in Ireland. There's a number of different reasons. The first that is often cited by people is the low corporation tax that we have in Ireland. So obviously that makes it an attractive base for people, not only to have the company based in, but to have their sort of senior level execs based in. So it becomes the sort of headquarters for a lot of the major tech firms. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft. So many of the world's major tech firms are based here. In addition to that, though, one of the reasons, even before the corporate tax rate was so low, one of the reasons why Ireland was an attractive place for tech companies in particular is because we actually, as a nation, have one of the lowest seismic activities in the world. That combined with our temperate climate means that the requirement, obviously, for tech companies having large server farms, for example, Ireland, it makes a great home for that because you have lower running costs in terms of overheads for air conditioning because of our temperate climate, and also you need to have that low seismic activity for it to work and be a suitable location for that.
Well, there are two main types of ownership. The first being freehold ownership, which is absolute ownership and has the potential to last forever. The second is leasehold ownership, which is a contractual arrangement between a landlord and a tenant for a set term and subject to certain covenants and conditions. In relation to leasehold, there can also be long leasehold, and that could be, for example, 99 years or 999 years. And that would be referred to as a freehold equivalent. However, it would be subject to certain restrictions and covenants. The Irish State Property Registration Authority has two separate systems of registration in Ireland. The first is the Registry of Deeds, and this is a registry of documents. The second is the Land Registry, and this is a registration of ownership. The Land Registry is state guaranteed title. The Registry of Deeds is not. However, we are going through a compulsory registration. Therefore, in time, all Registry of Deeds properties will be registered in the Land Registry. Both systems of registration can be accessed online via searches, and in relation to the Land Registry in particular, you could search against a particular property to identify who owns it, are there any charges registered against it, etc. And you would pay a small fee, however, everything is available online. Well, to purchase a property in Ireland, you must employ an Irish solicitor or lawyer, and that solicitor or lawyer will have a legal fee. In my experience, in general, you would always expect to pay a legal fee of approximately 0.5% to 1% of the value of the property. As well as the legal fee to the solicitor, you would also pay stamp duty, and that is charged based on whether it is a residential or non-residential property and the value of that property. Finally, you would pay a registration fee to the Property Registration Authority. If it is a residential property, you will expect to pay an annual local property tax, or LPT, and that is an annual charge, and it is based on the market value of the property. Now, at the moment, the market value is the market value of the property as was assessed in 2013. So to give you an example, a property which was worth 500,000 in 2013, that would have an annual property charge, local property tax charge of €945. Also, in relation to commercial real estate, you will pay commercial rates to the local authority, depending again on the rateable valuation of the property. Every transaction, it can move as quickly or as slowly as you agree with the other side. However, in my experience, you would always allow approximately 4 weeks to sign a contract for sale and a further 4 weeks to complete the transaction. So in general, I would allow 8 weeks from start to finish.
Life in general is pretty high quality. We have a very, very active cultural scene. So there's a really active arts scene. We have a very strong education reputation from an education standpoint, with some fantastic education establishments, both from very junior age through high school years and then into further and higher education. We tend to attract quite a lot of international students, and year on year, actually, the volume of international students who are choosing to come and study in Dublin is very, very high. It's quite an outdoor lifestyle as well. So Ireland in general has more than 100 beaches. More than 20 of those are actually in the greater Dublin area, and some identified as being amongst the best beaches in Northern Europe. We have a pretty temperate climate, similar to the UK, and it means that there's quite a sort of an outdoors lifestyle. So golf is a very, very popular sport in Ireland. We have over 400 golf courses throughout the country, more than 50 of those being in the greater Dublin area as well. When people are coming to Dublin at first, there'll quite often be the areas that they tend to know, if they have friends who live here, will tend to be in South Dublin. One of the big reasons for that can be how close a lot of the most reputable schools are. So understandably, particularly families will want to try and find schools that are homes that are in close proximity to where the great schools are. So as you kind of come out from the city centre, where we are today in Donnybrook, it's a very popular area. It's quite a wealthy suburb in the Dublin 4 postcode. It shares the postcode with areas like Ballsbridge and Sandymount, again, very popular areas. And then slightly further out from that, and home to some of the best schools, you have areas just south of here like Blackrock, Foxrock, Carrick Mines, again a very popular area now as well, with a lot of families wanting to be close to schools. If you look north of the river, then areas like Malahide, Portmarnock and Howth are also very popular as well. They are also quite a popular location for people who do a lot of international travel, because they're in close proximity to Dublin's international airport. For clients who are looking from an investment perspective, we have very good yields in general in Dublin, because of the strong property market has also meant, and the lack of supply has meant, that there's also a lack of supply in the private rented market. So we have quite a lot of investor clients who will be looking to invest in Dublin as well, and they will tend to be looking maybe slightly further afield, but still within the commuter belt. So areas like Balbriggan or Donabate or Tyrrellstown, that give a commute into Dublin city centre of less than an hour, but on a rental investment there, you can easily expect somewhere between a 5% and 7% gross yield. The buying process is relatively straightforward. We produce, actually, for a lot of our non-resident clients, we produce a series of different documents that assist with that. They're available in different languages, depending on which of our offices it is you're speaking to. So any of our international offices can provide you with this document, and it takes you through the stage-by-stage purchase process. we generally will recommend that if it's a first-time purchase and you are a non-resident purchasing or you have recently moved to Ireland, the easiest process is purchasing in a new homes development. This is fairly straightforward. The reason for that is obviously because there's a greater supply of the particular house type that you're looking for. In addition to that, it's fairly straightforward because with new homes purchases in Ireland, the price is the price. So the advertised price is the price that you would pay, as opposed to within the second-hand market where the price may only be a guide and it may sell for below or above the asking price. So with new homes, you tend not to be in a competitive bid situation, and it's a lot more straightforward. Once you have viewed and selected the home that you want to purchase, then typically you would pay what we refer to as a booking deposit to reserve the property. That will vary depending on the value of the property. It'll normally be somewhere between 3,000 and 15,000 euro. That deposit is always completely refundable until you've signed contracts and you've exchanged on the property. A typical contract period from the point when you've agreed the sale and contracts are issued to your appointed lawyer, then a typical exchange period would be anywhere between 21 to 28 days on a new homes residential development. It's fairly rapid because the contracts are normally very straightforward on a new homes development, and the vendor solicitor and often the solicitor that you're working with will have actually done transactions within that development before, so they may already be familiar with that. We're always happy as a company to recommend a panel of lawyers that you can choose from. We can also let you know solicitors who have acted for purchasers previously on the same development. We can also let you know as well a panel of solicitors who have people who speak various languages. So if you let us know what the language requirement is, then we can identify a solicitor who would be appropriate for you. From the point of exchange of contracts, upon exchange of contracts, you would pay 10% of the purchase price, and that would be your exchange deposit. And then from that point on, you are then kept informed by both ourselves and the developer who you're purchasing from in terms of the construction schedule of the home that you're purchasing. Closer to the time of completion of it, you'd then be given notice that your home is going to be ready to complete, and you're able to go through what we refer to as a snagging process. As part of the snagging process, you would attend site, or you can appoint a company to attend site on your behalf, who will then look at the quality and standard of workmanship. They'll identify any areas that perhaps need to be fixed, or need any issues that there are with the property, so that the developer has an opportunity to fix those before you actually complete on the sale. On the day you complete on the sale is the day when you would be given the keys for the property.
Well, it depends on whether the person has a valid will or not. If a person has a valid will in Ireland and owns property, then the property will pass in accordance with the terms of the will. If the person, however, does not have a valid will, then Irish legislation steps in and specifies where the property will go. So to give you an example, a person who dies without a valid will and that has a spouse but no children, the entire estate will pass to the spouse in accordance with intestacy law. If a person dies without a valid will and they have a spouse and children, then the estate will pass 2/3 to the spouse and 1/3 to the children. In certain circumstances, if there are no living relatives available or are identified, then in that circumstance, the property would pass to the state. Yes, you can absolutely freely transfer, particularly where you have a freehold title, which is an absolute title and has the potential to last forever. Then it is completely open to you to transfer to whomever you want. However, I would always say that people should take tax advice before they make any transfers. I believe it to be very easy to purchase a property in Ireland because the system is very transparent and fair. When you purchase a property in Ireland, you must engage a solicitor, and that solicitor must be regulated by the Law Society of Ireland. When you purchase a property, it must be registered with the Property Registration Authority, which is the state system, and it is very transparent and fair and can be accessed online. So therefore, I believe it to be very easy and very transparent to do business in Ireland.